engaged and get married and like move on with his life in that way.
The internet exploded when details of Taylor Swift's wedding plans mysteriously surfaced, and what came next had nobody ready. After months of whispers about an intimate, low-key ceremony, sources close to the pop icon revealed she's done a complete 180. We're talking over 300 guests, multiple luxury venues, and a celebration so massive it's being called the wedding of the century. But just as Swifties were celebrating their queen's fairy tale moment, Hailey Bieber posted something that set the entire internet on fire. A throwback Thanksgiving photo, an innocent caption about simple joys, and suddenly the old wounds were ripped wide open. Fans didn't just notice, they went to war. And what they uncovered about Bieber's past might just prove this wasn't as innocent as it seemed. Let's rewind to how we got here. When Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged back in August of 2025, insiders swore the couple wanted privacy, small guest list, close family, nothing flashy. Swift had reportedly been through enough public relationships to last a lifetime. And this time, she wanted something different. The plan was her $17 million Rhode Island mansion, maybe 50 people max, ocean views and quiet vows. Sources even confirmed permits for a $1.7 million renovation at the property, seemingly cementing the intimate venue choice. But then everything changed. According to multiple reports that dropped in late November, Taylor had an epiphany. This wasn't just another wedding. This was the only wedding she'd ever have. Why hold back? The pop superstar who built an empire on going big decided her nuptials deserved the same energy. Now the leaked details paint a wildly different picture. 300-plus guests from both her music industry empire and Travis's NFL kingdom. Potential venues exploded beyond Rhode Island to include Blackberry Farm in Tennessee, a 4,200-acre luxury resort tucked into the Smoky Mountains that's hosted Vogue-featured weddings. There's even talk of an international private island affair, possibly Richard Branson's Necker Island in the British Virgin Islands. Though sources hint another Caribbean location might offer more space. The Ocean House Hotel next to her Rhode Island estate could play a role too, with whispers of a multi-day celebration bouncing between venues. We're talking about a summer 2026 extravaganza with performances rumored from Selena Gomez, Sabrina Carpenter, and possibly Taylor herself, turning her own wedding into a concert event. The shift from quiet ceremony to cultural phenomenon was dramatic, and it sent shockwaves through social media. Swifties were ecstatic, but not everyone was celebrating. To understand why this wedding means so much, you have to understand the journey. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's love story reads like something she'd write a Grammy-winning album about. It started in July 2023 when Travis attended her Eras tour concert at Arrowhead Stadium and tried to give her a friendship bracelet with his number on it. She wasn't available to meet him that night, but the tight end went on his podcast and basically called her out in the most charming way possible, saying he was disappointed he couldn't hand her the bracelet. Taylor heard about it, and she reached out. By September 2023, she was sitting in the Kelce family suite at a Chiefs game, and the world lost its collective mind. Here was America's biggest pop star dating America's football golden boy, and neither of them was hiding it. Unlike her previous 6-year relationship with British actor Joe Alwyn, which ended in April 2023 amid reports of personality differences and different life goals, this relationship was loud and proud from day one. Travis brought an energy to Taylor's life that fans hadn't seen in years. She attended game after game. He flew across the world during his off-season to support her tours. They celebrated 2 Super Bowl victories together. By the time Travis proposed in August 2025, reportedly weeks before they announced it publicly, the moment felt inevitable. Taylor posted the engagement news with the caption that broke the internet. "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." Her $7 million engagement ring became instant headline material. The couple was living their best life, dominating every news cycle, embodying what sources called a fairy tale era. Taylor was on top of the world professionally and personally. Her Eras tour had become the highest-grossing tour in history. She was Time's Person of the Year. Everything she touched turned to platinum. And now, she was planning a wedding that would cement her as not just a music legend but a cultural force who could command global attention with a single life event. This was her moment, her celebration, her headlines, or so everyone thought. On November 27, 2020, right as the wedding details were flooding every entertainment outlet, Hailey Bieber posted to Instagram. It was a throwback Thanksgiving photo featuring her husband Justin and their son Jack Blues, who they'd welcomed in August 2020. Sweet family vibes. Nothing seemingly controversial, but it was the caption that made fans pause. She wrote about finding joy in the simple things, about gratitude for quiet moments and intimate family time. On the surface, totally normal mom content, except the timing couldn't have been more suspicious. Within hours, Swifties connected the dots. Here was Hailey, posting about simplicity and intimate celebrations, right when the entire world was buzzing about Taylor's decision to go from small wedding to massive spectacle. The contrast felt deliberate. Fans flooded comments sections accusing Bieber of throwing shade, of trying to position herself as the humble, grounded alternative to Swift's overthought plans. The post wasn't explicitly about Taylor, but in the world of celebrity social media, nothing exists in a vacuum. The subtext screamed louder than any direct call-out ever could. Twitter exploded with theories. TikTok went into overdrive. And within 24 hours, Hailey Bieber's name was trending alongside Taylor Swift's wedding news for all the wrong reasons. The model's defenders argued she was just sharing a genuine family moment, that new moms are allowed to post about motherhood without it being a conspiracy. But Swifties weren't buying it, not after everything they knew about Hailey's history, because this wasn't the first time Hailey Bieber had found herself accused of taking shots at Taylor Swift. The receipts went back years, and fans had kept every single one of them filed away like evidence in a cold case. The most damning piece surfaced back in 2023, when an old video from the show Drop the Mic went viral on TikTok. In the clip, a host mentions Taylor Swift's name, and Hailey's reaction was impossible to ignore. She rolled her eyes hard and made an exaggerated gagging gesture, her face twisting in visible disgust. The video had existed for years, but when it resurfaced, it reignited fury. Selena Gomez, Taylor's best friend and Justin Bieber's ex-girlfriend, even commented on the situation, defending Taylor and making it clear where her loyalties stood. Then fans started digging deeper. Screenshots emerged of old tweets from 2012 where Hailey had called Taylor Swift and Harry Styles the worst couple of the year. There were Instagram likes on posts that mocked Taylor during the height of the Kanye West and Kim Kardashian drama back in 2016 and 2017, when it was practically trendy in certain circles to hate on Swift. Hailey had been part of that crowd, liking shady posts and aligning herself with the anti-Taylor movement during one of the darkest periods of the singer's career. There was also the incident where Justin and Hailey posted a video, recreating one of Taylor's silly TikToks in what many perceived as a mocking way. Justin later apologized for that one, admitting it was distasteful and insensitive, but the damage lingered. The pattern was clear to Swift. Hailey had a history of subtle and not-so-subtle digs at Taylor, and this latest Thanksgiving post felt like just another entry in a long chronicle of passive-aggressive behavior. But why would Hailey Bieber, a successful model married to one of the biggest pop stars on the planet, care so much about Taylor Swift? That's where things get interesting. Sources close to the situation have whispered theories that paint a picture of jealousy and frustration. Hailey gave birth to Jack Blues in August 2024, and by all accounts, her life changed dramatically. Motherhood is beautiful, but it's also exhausting, isolating. And for someone used to constant spotlight, it can feel like you've disappeared. Multiple interviews with Hailey throughout 2025 revealed she'd been struggling with the adjustment, dealing with postpartum body changes, sleepless nights, and the loss of her pre-baby identity. She'd opened up in a Vogue interview about how motherhood changed her head to toe, about how she was finding herself again. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift was having the exact opposite experience. Every single day brought new headlines about her record-breaking tour, her romance with Travis, her cultural dominance. When the engagement dropped in August 2025, the same month Hailey's son turned 1 year old, it was Taylor who owned every front page. When the wedding details leaked in November, once again Taylor commanded global attention. Insiders claimed Hailey felt overshadowed, that watching someone else live out a fairy tale, while she was deep in the trenches of early motherhood, stirred up feelings she wasn't proud of. One anonymous source even told entertainment outlets that Hailey's cryptic posts had become a pattern whenever Taylor dominated headlines, almost like a subconscious need to remind people she existed too. The theory gained traction because it made psychological sense. Postpartum life is vulnerable and raw, and seeing an ex-boyfriend's ex-girlfriend's best friend live out a perfect love story while you're covered in baby spit-up might trigger emotions that come out sideways. The Selena Gomez connection made everything messier. This wasn't just about Taylor and Hailey, it was about a tangled web of relationships that stretched back over a decade. Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez had one of the most toxic on-again relationships in pop culture history. They dated, broke up, reconciled, and imploded multiple times between 2010 and 2018. Selena and Taylor Swift had been best friends since they were teenagers, bonding over their shared experiences as young women in the music industry. When Justin and Selena's final breakup happened in early 2018, Justin moved on fast. By July of that year, he was engaged to Hailey Baldwin, and they married in a courthouse ceremony that September. The speed shocked everyone, especially Selena, who was still processing the end of her relationship. Fans accused Justin of using Hailey as a rebound, of jumping into marriage to prove he was over Selena. Whether that was true or not, it created an uncomfortable dynamic. Hailey was now married to Selena's ex, which automatically put her at odds with Selena's inner circle, including Taylor. Over the years, there were moments where it seemed like tensions might ease. Selena posted messages about moving on, about wishing everyone well, but every time things calmed down, something would reignite the drama. The gagging video, the mocking posts, the shade, and Swifties never forgot any of it because loyalty to Taylor meant loyalty to Selena too. The two women were a package deal in the eyes of fans. An attack on one was an attack on both. So when Hailey posted that Thanksgiving caption right as Taylor's wedding plans dominated headlines, it wasn't just seen as shade toward Taylor, it was seen as disrespect toward the entire friendship circle. The fact that Hailey had history with both Justin and the Mean Girl behavior made it impossible for fans to give her the benefit of the doubt. Social media became a battlefield. Swifties assembled like an army, pulling out every receipt, every screenshot, every piece of evidence that proved Hailey's track record of shady behavior. TikToks analyzing her body language in old videos went viral. Twitter threads dissecting the timeline of her posts versus Taylor's news reached hundreds of thousands of likes. Instagram comment sections turned into war zones where fans argued about intent, jealousy, and whether Hailey deserved grace or dragging. Some people defended her, arguing that not every post a celebrity makes is a calculated attack, that sometimes a Thanksgiving photo is just a Thanksgiving photo. New moms post about gratitude all the time, and it's unfair to assume everything revolves around Taylor Swift. Hailey's supporters pointed out that she'd been dealing with online harassment for years, much of it tied to her marriage to Justin and the Selena comparisons. They argued she was a victim of over-analysis, that fans saw what they wanted to see because they'd already decided she was the villain. But the counter-argument was strong. Why did these cryptic posts always seem to happen when Taylor was trending? Why did Hailey have such a documented history of anti-Taylor behavior if there wasn't some underlying issue? And why, if she truly wanted peace, did she keep engaging in ways that fanned the flames? Critics claimed Hailey enjoyed the attention, that being connected to Taylor Swift drama kept her relevant in a way her modeling career alone couldn't. It was a harsh accusation, but one that gained traction as the pattern repeated. Behind the scenes, sources claimed both women were exhausted by the narrative. Taylor Swift had reportedly reached a point where she didn't care what Hailey Bieber posted. She was focused on her wedding, her relationship, and her happiness. Friends close to Swift said she'd learned years ago that responding to every perceived slight was a losing game, that the best revenge was living well and letting the music speak for itself. She'd moved past the drama with Kanye and Kim, past the Joe Alwyn breakup songs, and she wasn't about to let Hailey Bieber derail her joy. But that didn't stop her fans from fighting the battle on her behalf. Swifties saw themselves as protectors, and they took the Hailey situation personally. On Hailey's side, insiders claimed she was frustrated by the constant scrutiny. She'd given interviews saying she wanted to move past the Selena comparisons, that she was tired of being painted as the villain in someone else's love story. Her Vogue cover story from mid-2025 saw her opening up about shutting out the noise and focusing on motherhood, on building a life that didn't revolve around public perception. She claimed she'd made peace with the fact that some people would never like her, and that was okay, but her actions, intentional or not, kept pulling her back into the discourse. The Thanksgiving post was just the latest example of behavior that could be read multiple ways depending on where your loyalties fell. What made this situation particularly messy was the lack of direct confrontation. Nobody was calling anyone out by name. Nobody was posting diss tracks or giving explosive interviews. Everything existed in subtext and implication, which made it impossible to definitively prove or disprove the accusations. Hailey could genuinely have been sharing a sincere family moment, or she could have been making a calculated statement knowing exactly how it would be received. The truth probably lived somewhere in the gray area, where subconscious feelings manifest in ways we don't fully understand ourselves. Jealousy, insecurity, frustration, those emotions don't always present as obvious attacks. Sometimes they leak out in passive-aggressive captions and poorly timed posts. And in the age of social media, every post is analyzed to death, every word dissected for hidden meaning. Celebrities live in a fishbowl where even their silence is interpreted as a statement. The pressure to be perfect, to never slip, to constantly manage perception is suffocating. But that's the reality of fame at this level. And both Taylor and Hailey had chosen to live public lives. The timing of this drama also highlighted something fascinating about celebrity culture and the way we consume it. Taylor Swift's wedding wasn't even happening yet, and already it had become a global event. The leaked details alone generated more headlines than most actual weddings receive. That's the level of power and influence she commands. Meanwhile, Hailey Bieber, despite being married to a massive star and having her own successful career, seemed to exist in Taylor's shadow whenever their worlds intersected. It wasn't necessarily fair, but it was the reality. Taylor had spent 20 years building an empire based on connection, storytelling, and fan loyalty. Hailey had fame through marriage and modeling, which came with a different kind of public perception. The comparison was inevitable and brutal. And when you're constantly compared to someone who seems to win at everything, resentment can build even if you don't want it to. Sources close to Hailey suggested she'd struggled with this exact dynamic, feeling like no matter what she accomplished, it would never be enough to escape the narrative that she was just Justin's wife or Selena's replacement or the girl who shaded Taylor Swift. As the wedding planning continues and summer 2026 approaches, all eyes will be watching to see how this plays out. Will Hailey post something else that reignites the controversy? Will Taylor address any of this in future music or interviews? Will Selena Gomez, fresh off her own engagement to Benny Blanco announced in December 2025, play a role in the wedding drama? The dynamics are fascinating because they involve real people with real feelings navigating public personas and private pain. Social media has made it so we feel entitled to every moment of celebrities' lives. And we've created a culture where everything they do is fodder for analysis and judgment. The Hailey situation is a perfect example of how complicated modern fame has become. A simple Thanksgiving post turned into an international incident because of history, timing, and the way fans interpret every move through the lens of loyalty and rivalry. What's particularly wild is how this feud has persisted without either woman really engaging directly. It's been kept alive by fans, by media outlets hungry for drama, and by the occasional cryptic post that could mean everything or nothing. The lack of resolution makes it endlessly fascinating. We'll probably never know Hailey's true intentions with that Thanksgiving post. We'll never know if Taylor even saw it or cared. But we'll keep talking about it because that's what we do. We create narratives, assign motivations, and turn real people into characters in a story we're all invested in. And maybe that's the real issue here. We've turned these women into symbols rather than human beings. Taylor represents the underdog who became untouchable, the girl who turned pain into platinum records and came out on top. Hailey represents the mean girl, the one who married the prize and still seems unsatisfied. Neither of those characterizations is fully accurate, but they're the roles we've assigned. And breaking free of those roles is nearly impossible when millions of people are invested in maintaining them. The wedding itself promises to be spectacular, regardless of the drama. If Taylor goes through with the grand celebration, it'll be a cultural moment that defines 2020. 300 guests, multiple venues, performances from music's biggest names, and a bride who knows how to create magic. Travis Kelce will bring his NFL family, his championship rings, and his golden retriever energy. Their fathers will walk them down metaphorical aisles, toward a future that already feels destined. The photos will break the internet, the fashion will set trends, and yes, people will analyze every single detail looking for hidden messages and drama. Will Selena be a bridesmaid? Almost certainly. Will that fact alone trigger another round of Hailey discourse? Absolutely. Will anyone from the Bieber camp be invited? Highly doubtful. The wedding guest list will tell its own story about allegiances and friendships, about who made the cut and who didn't. And social media will have a field day with all of it. What this entire situation reveals is that even in 2020, with all our progress and awareness, we're still obsessed with the same dynamics that have captivated humans forever: rivalry, jealousy, love triangles, and the question of who comes out on top. Taylor Swift has mastered the art of turning her life into content, and whether she intended to or not, this wedding has become another chapter in her epic story. Hailey Bieber, whether she wanted to be or not, has become a footnote in that story. The person accused of throwing shade from the sidelines. It's not a role anyone would choose, but it's the one she's been given. And the truth is, both women are probably tired of it. tired of being pitted against each other over connections that barely exist, tired of having every post analyzed for secret meaning, tired of living in a world where you can't share a family photo without triggering conspiracy theories? But that exhaustion doesn't change the reality that this is their life now, and it will be until one of them decides to completely step away from public life, which seems unlikely given their careers. So what happens next? The wedding will happen, and it'll be everything we expect, and more. Hailey will continue posting about motherhood and her life, and some people will continue reading shade into every word. Selena will celebrate her best friend's happiness while navigating her own engagement. Justin will stay mostly silent because he's learned that's the safest move, and the rest of us will watch it all unfold like the world's most glamorous reality show, complete with heroes and villains and plot twists we never saw coming. The cycle will repeat because this is the nature of celebrity culture. We build people up, tear them down, create rivalries, and feast on the drama. And as long as there are fans willing to fight these battles and media outlets willing to cover every angle, the Taylor-Hailey narrative will persist. Whether there's any real beef between them or just perceived tension, amplified by millions of observers, is almost beside the point. The story has taken on a life of its own, and at this point, the truth matters less than the narrative we've all agreed to believe. That might be the saddest part of all, that two women who probably have more in common than they'd admit, both navigating fame and relationships and public pressure, have been turned into enemies by forces largely beyond their control. But that's the price of the platform, and they both knew what they were signing up for when they chose lives in the spotlight.